Welcome to the Nebraska Library Commission's Public Library Accreditation Workshop for 2026. For those of you that don't know me, I am Christa Porter. I am the Library Development Director here at the Library Commission. In library development, we run our accreditation and certification programs, as well as some other things. We do continuing education, E-rate, issue grants that we offer through the Library Commission. So lots of things that we do here in library development. And today we are going to talk about our accreditation program for public libraries and the related certification programs for them, and your community needs response plan document that you will be composing or updating. This is officially, we have a block of 3 hours for this, but we will stop halfway through for a break, so we don't all have to sit here for 3 hours. I certainly don't want to do that straight through. So we will take a break about halfway through to for about 5 minutes for everyone to get up, walk around, have a little break before we pick up in the afternoon session. The second half of the session. Yeah. So we do have a, I checked and see who we have here registered for today's workshop. And we have a mixture of people, which is great. Some of you are up for renewal this year, which is perfect. This is where you need to be to find out exactly how to do your libraries, get your library re-accredited. Some of you are not due to be renewed until next year or the year after, and that's great too. It's always good to get a head start on this process, to get it, in your head about what you might need to be working on and thinking about for the next year. And we do have a couple of libraries registered today who are not accredited as of yet, or unaccredited, and that's great. We're always happy to have more libraries become accredited. This is a voluntary program here in Nebraska, and we do like to have our as many libraries as possible be able to participate in it. So we're always happy to have new libraries coming on board. So we are going to start here on we do not have, first of all, there are no slides for this workshop today, so there's no documentation like that. We're just going to work strictly off of the website that we have set up for accreditation, because everything you need to know is in there, and hopefully very clearly explained in there. So we're just going to be using the Library Commission's homepage here to get us to our accreditation and certification information. So here on our library website, you'll see here we've got flyout menus over here on the left, and this one here, it groups together certification and accreditation. And that is because those two items are related to each other. In order for your library to be accredited, both your library board and your library director have to be certified. So we will be going through all of these different programs is what we're going to be talking about here today. And we're going to start with the accreditation, and then we'll pop back to the two certification programs when we get to talking about them. So first of all, accreditation and certification of public libraries in the United States, there is no national organization that runs these programs. There's nothing being handed down to us from the American Library Association or Institute of Museum and Library Services or anything like that. So each state does their own thing. So here in Nebraska, we have an accreditation program for our public libraries and certification program for both our library staff and our library boards. And this is all specifically to just public libraries. For K-12 schools and universities and colleges, they have a whole separate programs with different organizations that run those. We here at the Nebraska Library Commission only handle this for public libraries. So if you are have come here to Nebraska from another state or talk to your colleagues in other states, you may hear them talk about how this works differently in their states, and that's why. Some states just do accreditation and no certification programs. Some do certification and no accreditation. Some don't have any at all. They just use a whole different process for reviewing their libraries. Here in Nebraska, we have all three. The accreditation program here in Nebraska started in the mid-'80s, 1986, 1987. I'm going to give you just a little bit of history, a little background of that. When here at the Library Commission, they were thinking that we need to do something, or a review was done of libraries, and we need to do something to have them, how do we know that libraries are giving good doing good service, providing good services, appropriate services, what their community needs. So they came up with this accreditation program where we can review what you were doing and say, yes, you check off all these boxes, you do all these things, great. In addition, we added certification programs for both library staff and library boards. So of making sure that both people who work at your libraries and people who help govern your libraries on the boards are keeping up to speed, keeping up with technology, with education, their own professional development, lifelong learning about what they do for the library. The program has changed over the years, the accreditation program. It is not the same version as it was when it first started. In the original program, when it first started up, libraries had to be reaccredited every year. So it was just an annual process. That changed pretty quickly to a 3-year reaccreditation process every 3 years. And now we are at 5 years, actually. Libraries are reaccredited every 5 years. In 2013 was the most recent major overhaul of the program when we went to a points system. There are certain items that you will see on your application form that you can earn points for, and if you earn enough points, you get to be at certain levels of accreditation. Previously, you had to meet all of these guidelines to become the lowest level accredited. If you have to do all of these things, you get the lowest. Then if the next level, you've got a bunch of new things you have to do to get to the second level. And you just missed out on one of those items, one guideline, you didn't reach the level at all. In 2013, they were reevaluating, looking at the program, saying that doesn't seem very fair. Libraries are different. Libraries are unique. And each population, each community needs different services and different things. So we can't really do a one-to-one comparison. We need to do more about what are you doing in your community? Is that what your people need? And that's what you're providing them. Down the highway, the next community, they may need something else. And you're providing what's right for your community. And we'll give you points for that. So different libraries will earn points for different things. And then the most recent self-evaluation and review of the program was done in 2022. It had not been, as I said, the program had changed in 2013. And I decided that we needed to look at it again, see what we think of the program. I gathered together a group of librarians, so your colleagues here in Nebraska. Some have been in the previous review committee, some new, and our regional library system directors to just take an overall look at the program, how it works, the questions we ask on the application form, what we require for the community needs response plan. And we made some minor changes and clarifications of some of the guidelines. We didn't change the point system at all. That's still the same. Just hopefully clarifying some things, making things easier. We added some computer security questions. We'd never asked about security and how up to date your computers are. And then the major change was changing that accreditation period, how long your accreditation is good for, from 3 years to 5 years. Since I started doing this, the accreditation program here at the Library Commission which was in 2017, I've gotten lots of comments from people that 3 years was too soon. Things hasn't changed a lot in 3 years. We're kind of just repeating the same thing over and over again. Didn't seem to be really a good, useful process so quickly. So I'd always had it in the back of my mind that maybe we should have it be a little longer. Well, we didn't know how. And then in 2020, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic started and everything shut down. And in the beginning of that year, I was starting to get ready for the new reaccreditation process for the year. And in March, everything shut down. So I immediately said, no, we're not doing this year. Everybody has too much else they're worrying about and has on their mind. They don't need to be worrying about this. So everyone got a 1-year extension. So everybody, if you were due in 2020, 2021, 22, whenever, everybody got bumped a year. And then in 2021, things were still not settled down yet. We were still struggling. So trying to figure out how to, how to deal and work in this pandemic times. And so I gave a second extension. Everyone got another year. So 2-year extension. 2022, I said, okay, it looks like we've gotten things figured out. Everyone knows how they're working, what's going on in your libraries. Let's do this self-evaluation. Let's take advantage of this to review the program. And since people have been asking about, can we have a longer period? Let's just make it that 5 years. We kind of fell into it anyways. People had 3-year expirations and we extended them I gave extensions for 2 years, and we kind of just fell into 5. So we stuck with it. And so officially as of 2022, you get reaccredited every 5 years. In order to make that happen, it's easiest on us here at the commission to have about an equal number of libraries up for reaccreditation every year. So we had everybody in 3 groups, reach for 4, had to break up into 5, which did make some libraries get, just in order to have 5 years, get even another year or 2 extension. So some libraries have not been reaccredited for possibly up to 7 years, which I believe we're finally catching up with all of them now. So that was the biggest change, is going to the 5-year accreditation. So we're going to jump into our webpage here. So as I said, we've got our board info here for certification, or librarian certification information here. And we're going to look at all of those later. But we're going to start with the Public Library Accreditation page. Here on the flyout menu, we have some quick jumps to certain things, but there's a lot more on the pages as well. So we have our main page here, the actual online application form that you use to submit if you are reaccrediting or becoming accredited for the first time. A link to the preview application to see what the guidelines are. You can look up the status of any library in the state and if they are accredited, what level, and then a link to a separate page all about community needs response planning. And we'll be talking about that in the second half of today's workshop. So let's get into the library accreditation page. All right. So as you can see here right at the top of the page, it does say the process will begin on July 1st, and that is next week, next Wednesday. So every year on July 1st, I send emails out to all libraries up for reaccreditation and any libraries who have submitted our public library survey and then are invited to become accredited for the first time. So next Wednesday, some of you will be receiving emails from me. I did do a shorter version, I would say, of this workshop on our Encompass Live weekly show at the beginning of May. It's a little over an hour long. So if you have someone who, so, today is our full 3-hour workshop of everything you need to know and going through all the steps of accreditation. But if you have someone who's like just a member of your board or someone in your community, your mayor or your city manager who just wants to know the basics of why are you doing this? Why are you going through all this? How does this work? That 1-hour-ish session would be a good recording to send them to. It's much shorter. It's everything, just the basics in there. So if you do have someone who just needs a short intro to accreditation, definitely have them watch that session. Today's workshop is also being recorded and will be available sometime next week. I'll have it all edited and published. So if you have anyone who does need the full training or wants to rewatch, refresh themselves after having watched this one, you'll be able to watch the recording. And that link we posted up here once I get that ready to go. So one of the first questions I get from libraries who are asking about this or struggling with doing this is why? Why should my library be accredited? Why am I going through all this work? What is the purpose of this whole process? So the original purpose of library accreditation and making libraries accredited is to, as I mentioned earlier, when they first created the program, to encourage libraries to provide excellent service. Being reviewed and looked at and seeing what are you doing. There are benchmarks you can to reach, so you can show to your stakeholders in your community, your mayor, your city council, why does the library do what it does? Well, this is why, because the state, Nebraska Library Commission, in order to be accredited, and other libraries are doing this too. You can compare yourself to other libraries. There are some peer comparison questions in your application form. So you can see, hey, another way to go to your stakeholders, your mayor, your city council, and say, we need more money for insert whatever item here, because look, we're not doing as good as other communities of our same size. And bragging rights for this. It is something to be proud of and celebrate and say, we are accredited. We went through this process. it was a struggle, but we did it, and we are now officially designated as an accredited public library. There are some things you get. We do send you a certificate, a little certificate you can hang on the wall, have framed, do what you like with it. There is an online graphic, a seal that says you are accredited at a particular level that we will email to you as well, that you can use on your website, on any newsletters or anything that you put out, flyers. And you can get a window cling, a sticker to put on the window of your library. Our regional library systems have those available for you. So you can put that right on the window of your library, showing anyone walking by that this is an accredited public library. In addition to us, just all of those more fun things, also a fun thing is money. There is certain funding that only accredited public libraries are eligible for. And then remember, this is just how it works in Nebraska. So if you're talking to your colleagues in other states, or you're from another state, it's going to be possibly different in your state. So here in Nebraska, in order to receive state aid from us here at the Library Commission, your library does have to be accredited. State aid is funding that we receive from the Nebraska legislature as part of our budget, and we divide it up amongst all the public libraries in the state who are accredited. And in addition to just the base amount you receive, if you're at one of the higher levels, gold or silver, you receive a little additional state aid funding. So we do have the 3 levels of accreditation. You can see here, bronze, silver, and gold. And if you are silver, you get an extra $200. And if you're at gold level, you get an extra $400. So this is our state aid to public libraries page. This is something that Sam Shaw, our data person here at the Library Commission, handles. So he sends this, he reviews how much funding we have, how many libraries are accredited, and sends out the funding. You also have to have completed our public library survey. That is a very important thing as well. This is an annual survey that we do to gather national data. All states do this, so you have to have completed that survey and be accredited. And then you can see here, if you want to see what is the current amount, you can see the amount is based on population of your community, and then incentive, additional funding if you receive additional funding from your municipality, and if you are accredited at silver and gold. So you can see all of our libraries in the state, how much their total aid, how much they received, and then what it was per capita for that amount. So that's the first thing you have to be accredited to receive. In order to apply for the grants that we offer here through the Nebraska Library Commission, your library also needs to be accredited. We have continuing education and training grants, which is to attend workshops or conferences or bring professional development into your library for your staff. Internship grants, where we can provide you funding to hire a person for maybe summer reading or for a temporary project. Library improvement grants, if you need new equipment or furniture or new programming you want to start at your library. And youth grants for excellence, which is programming specifically for youth services. This would be children's and teens. So in order to apply for any of those 4 grants, you do need to be accredited. We have offered other grants through the Library Commission, but those do not have those same criteria. So if you look at this main grants webpage for the commission, you will see 2 other grants listed here as well. The Little Free Library grants, those closed. They were done last year, so that is a finished up program. We provided funding for communities who do not have a library to put in a Little Free Library. But we also administer the Fern V. Heim Library Trustee Scholarship. This is a funding that is from funding is at the Nebraska Community Foundation, and we and the Nebraska Library Association work together to be able to give out this funding to libraries. This is specifically to bring your library board members to conferences, to send your board members. So to the Nebraska Library Association Conference or the ARSL Conference, Association for Rural and Small Libraries. Either of those conferences. So, you as library employees and staff may go to these conferences regularly, but through this scholarship, we wanted to bring more of your board members to attending those conferences as well. So this will be opening up soon for the upcoming conferences. I know just recently, NLA, Nebraska Library Association, announced that their registration's open and they've got the basic schedule up. Remember, this year it is the NLA MPLA, Mountain Plains Library Association Joint Conference here in La Vista. The Mountain Plains Library Association is 12 states in the middle of the country, and that organization's conference rotates through all those states. And this year, Nebraska's turn. So it is going to be a much bigger conference with lots of people coming from other states who are part of MPLA. So first of all, highly recommend attending. Get yourself registered and send your board members. This scholarship, we will have funding to send your library board members to that conference. And to ARSL, Association of Rural Small Libraries, if they want to go there instead. But the other 4 grants here, those are the ones that require the accreditation: the CE in training, internship, library improvement, and youth grants for excellence. You can see these open up in the fall each year. So they're already done for the 2026. Libraries already received their funding and are doing their programming and projects. This fall coming up is when the next round will open up for whichever ones we do offer. So keep your eyes open for that. And the last thing money related that has to do with being accredited is community development block grants from our Nebraska Department of Economic Development. These are grants for construction for your facilities. If you need to renovate something, build a new library, add an addition, update something, these are the grants for that. The Department of Economic Development has decided that one of their criteria is that a public library applying for their community facility does need to be accredited, so that they are using our guidelines of accreditation for their grant. So for all of those different things, for receiving all of that funding, your library does need to be accredited. So that is the why. Bragging rights, meeting standards, showing to your community and your stakeholders why what you do at the library is important, and being eligible for additional funding for your library. As I mentioned briefly, there are 3 levels of accreditation and is based on a point system. We are going to look at a demo version of the accreditation application form so you can see what all these points are. There are 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold. There's a total of 275 points you can earn, but you need 175 for the lowest level, bronze, 200 for silver, 250 for gold. So you can see there's more points available than the highest level of gold. So as I said, each library is unique, each community is unique. So your library is going to check off certain things another library is not going to check off in the application. And you'll reach your levels based on what you offer to your community. When this change was made back in, well, I said 2013, it was a more equitable way, we thought, of comparing libraries. Rather than saying every library must do all the same things. No, different libraries are going to need to do different things. So we tried to make it a little more specific to you. As I said, there is a list of all the libraries in the state and whether they are accredited or not. So this is a list of all the public libraries that we know of that exist in Nebraska. And if they are accredited, what level they are at, when they expire, and which regional library system they are part of. It's by default, it's by alphabetical by city, but you can change it by library name, system, etc. These links here go to the library. If we know a library has a website, it goes to their library's website. So you can see that. So you can see here some are accredited. The blank ones just aren't accredited at all, and that's fine. As I said, this is a voluntary program. We have about 240 something, I don't know the exact number, official legally established libraries in Nebraska, and about 182 of them are accredited. So as I said, this is a voluntary program. And so we do have many of our libraries that just choose not to for varying reasons, and that's fine. But we're happy to have new ones join as well. So. All right. The schedule, as it said at the top of the page here, the process starts every year on July 1st. Any libraries that are up for reaccreditation gets an email from me telling you you're due for reaccreditation. Let's get you started with that. And if you are not accredited, but you have submitted the public library survey and our additional library commission supplemental survey, then you're invited to become accredited. As I said, these are the public library survey is a national survey that we are required, that we do every year. The application online, there's an online application form that you submit and a community needs response plan, which is a separate document. It's not something online. It's something that you would have as a PDF or a Word document, however, they would submit to me separately. Those are due to me by October 1st. So we open things up July 1st. By October 1st, you have to have those to me. And then I look at those together and evaluate them. And by the end of the year, by December 31st, you will know, at the very latest, you will know December 31st if you are reaccredited or if you're accredited for the first time and at what level. Now, I don't wait till the end of the year to get all these out. Whenever I have an application and a plan, I look at them together and review them. And as soon as I've evaluated everything and everything looks good, I then will let you know that you have been reaccredited. So accreditation is good through the end of the year that it says you're accredited for. So all libraries that are due, who are accredited through 2026, it's good through December 31st of 2026. So we then do your reaccreditation while there's no lapse. While you're still accredited. Your next 5-year period starts with 2027 and goes 2027 through 2031. So you never have a break in your accreditation. All right, now these dates are not, well, the July 1st starting date and the December 31st ending date are definitely, I'd say, in stone. We don't open things up till July 1st, and my own self-imposed everything. I want everything done by 31st. But that October 1st date is not necessarily in stone. I will go back and forth with you on things. If you need an extension, just let me know. There are many reasons why libraries might not be able to get things done by October 1st. If you are, there's been a national disaster, a tornado or floods or something. If you're doing building renovation, if something has come up and you've been ill, that's fine. Just let me know. Reach out to me and I can give extensions. I give monthly extensions to start with. So I'll say, let's give you another month. Let's give you till November 1st or December 1st as we need to. I will also give a whole year extension if it's something major, like we are doing a library renovation and redoing our whole building this year. And it happens to be the same year that we're due for reaccreditation. I will give you an extension. You got a lot on your plate already. You don't need to be worrying about this as well. Let's wait till next year. If you are a brand new library director, I will give an extension as well. I also try not to make a brand new director who's just trying to learn the job to begin with also have to deal with this. So you can reach out to me and let me know. Sometimes your regional library system director will reach out to me and let me know. If I see that you are brand new this year, I will also sometimes proactively contact you and say, hey, your library is supposed to be being reaccredited this year, but since you are new, I'm proactively just giving you your extension. We'll do it next year. So let me know. And we will go back and forth. Once you submit your things on October 1st, we will go back and forth. Possibly I may have questions. There are questions on the accreditation application form. They have to make sure you've mentioned them also in your plan. Sometimes people have mentioned something in their plan and didn't check off that item on the accreditation application form. So I want to make sure you get all the points that you can. So I will, go back and forth with you on that and make those fixes until we are both think everything is done. Your community needs response plan, you can send me a draft version of that if you want to, or just parts of it to look at and review and give you feedback before you submit the full final version. That's not a problem. And you can start that at any time. You do not have to wait till July 1st to start working on that. July 1st is just when that online application form goes live. But this plan you can start working on at any time and send it to me for any feedback you want. All right. We do have and I'm going to scroll down here a bit. There's more information here about the accreditation. There is a preview application that you can look at before the one that live, the form goes live, the form you'll actually use. This is a static version of the form. If you can't see me, but I'm clicking. You can't click at any of the boxes, doesn't do anything, but you can at least see how the form will look and what the questions are on here and how many points you can earn for them. You can look at the help about each, if there is help for the different questions. So this you can look at ahead of time and see what kind of questions it is that are asked and where you can earn points. So this might be a good thing to look at any time of the year to see if there is some way you can earn more points if you're trying to just get accredited, reach that bronze level to begin with, or if you're trying to jump up to a higher level, you can plan ahead and see, hey, maybe if we create some policies in certain areas that we don't have them yet, we can earn some points. If we get a technology plan put together, we can earn some more points, etc. So this is always available for you, this preview application to look at. It's just a live one that you can't use to submit anything until July 1st. All right, anybody have any questions? If you do have questions, type into that question section of your interface. Let me get that open here. That's the speech bubble there with a question mark in it. This open here. Anytime you think of anything you want to know more about, you're confused about, you're wondering about, go ahead and type it in there and I will answer for you. All right. So in order to apply for accreditation and to maintain your library's accreditation through its 5 years, you must do these, meet these 3 things here. First is submitting our public library survey and our Library Commission supplemental survey. This survey is done by Sam Shaw. Sam Shaw runs our public library survey program. So you'll probably hear from him. Usually the survey opens sometime in November and closes in February. And then he has all that data that we can then use for accreditation. However, as you all I'm sure know, that this year things worked a little differently. Baker and Taylor was the company that ran the Bibliostat program that we did use to collect this data. And as you all know, they shut down and that service went away. We no longer had that. So we had to come all across the country, every state had to come up with a new way to collect this data that we still had to report to IMLS. We did our own in-house survey, and it went live a little later, not until December, and it was wrapped up on April 1st. So we do have all the data, and it is done for this year. And it will probably be work that way for future years as well. We have the public library survey that we submit to IMLS, but then we have our supplemental survey. There's some extra questions that we wanted to know, basic things about your board members, your friends groups, if you have them, social media, things that the public library survey doesn't ask, but we did want. So it's another little small addition. So in order for your library to be accredited, you do have to do this survey and the supplemental survey every year. So you have to do that. You don't just do it once and then you're good for 5 years. You have to do it every single year that you are accredited in order to maintain your library's accreditation. If you miss doing it 1 year, your library will lose the accreditation. So you do have to be very careful with that. And then there are 12 minimum qualifications you have to meet. Now, as I said earlier, yes, all the different questions in the accreditation application form are going to be checked off differently for each library, and you get to pick which ones work for you. But we do have 12 minimum ones that that every library has to meet, just the basics. And we'll go into those in a second. And then the third thing is that community needs response plan. This is a separate document that you submit to me. This is looking at your community, seeing what needs there are out there, and coming up with some programs or services or things that you can work on. So kind of get you to take a look outside the box at what's happening in your community. And we're going to dig much deeper into that, as I said, in the second half of the workshop. So these are the things you must do to apply in the first place and every year to maintain. You have to always keep submitting that survey and maintaining those 12 minimum qualifications. Generally these plans are good for 5 years, so you'll have dates on there. So as long as you still have an active plan, that counts for the requirements. The accreditation application form itself is broken up into 5 sections: governance and planning, resources, services, cooperation and collaboration, and communications. Some of the guidelines in the form are pre-filled from your public library survey data. We do look at things like what are your library hours, what is your budget, are your library staff certified, what programs you offer, and anything that you've already told us on your survey, we don't want you to have to retell us again on your accreditation application form. So we don't want you to duplicate effort or have to do things again. So anything we already know, we will just pre-fill into there. And then there's additional things that you can then check off yourself to get additional points. You do have to log into the accreditation application form, but it's the same username and password that you use for your public library survey, same one you've always used. We don't want you to have to learn a whole new password or anything. As I said, there is that preview application that you can look at if you want to see what all those questions and guidelines and things are. So I showed you earlier, but you can see here guidelines based on the public library survey data are marked with, there we go. In this static one, they're all green checks. Anything with a check, those are things that are pre-filled based on the public library survey data. Anything without a check are the things that you can check off yourself. There are some of the items on the application form are peer comparisons as well, also based on public library survey data. So just for these 9 guidelines, we compare you to communities that are the same size as yours. Again, trying to make it more, not just saying libraries must be open a certain number of hours, but how are you compared to other communities of the same size as yours? How much staff do you have? What is your attendance programming, etc.? So the kind of things, more comparison type things. And this is all pulled from the public library survey. Again, you do not have to re-enter all this information. We compare you to libraries and communities that are within 15% above or below your library's legal service area. For some of you, we don't have enough libraries in Nebraska that are in that group to give a useful comparison. So you will see sometimes we'll pull libraries from other states next to us, Kansas, Iowa, just to get something, a good amount of libraries to compare you to so that the actual comparison, matters. You can meet either the average or which is the mean, the average of when all the libraries are just compared to each other, or the median, where the value at the midpoint when you have, ones above you and below you. Either one of those you meet. You don't have to meet both, just one or the other. You then earn those points. So we think this is a more equitable, realistic way to measure what you're doing, comparing you to other communities, rather than picking an arbitrary number and saying, as I said, you must have this many staff, you must be open this many hours. No, it's going to vary. But comparing you to other communities similar to yours, that's a better way to do it. All right, so let's get into those minimum qualifications. This is where we're going to start getting into the beginning of the application form itself. Do you have any questions yet before I jump into that about the basic program, the schedule, the levels, the application form, peer comparisons? All right. So let's jump into those 12 minimum. So when you first click on to go into the accreditation application form or look at these 12 minimum qualifications, you will see this is the first page of the actual live form when you are able to do it. As you can see, it's a big red box right now, says it's going to start July 1st. Can't do it yet. These 12 minimum you have to check all of these before you have to meet all of these before you can even start the process. So this is where you're definitely going to begin. Many of these are related to Nebraska statutes, Nebraska state laws that exist for libraries. We do have a help here that you can pop open and see with links to the laws, state laws, federal laws, other resources about all of these different minimum guidelines here. Actually, I'm going to do this. I want a new window. There we go. That's better. Okay. So anywhere on this and anywhere on the application form where you see this yellow circle, the question mark will always pop up extra help. So the first minimum qualification is that your library is legally established under Nebraska state statutes. Now, in order for most library laws are in Chapter 51 for most of our libraries, Chapter 51 of the Nebraska state law. If you are a larger community, you have the option to have different criteria, and that's in Chapter 16. But for most of our libraries, it is Chapter 51. In order for a library to be considered legally established in Nebraska, first, your municipality, your city council, village board, whichever, has to have put out a resolution or ordinance stating that we are starting a public library. We want to have a public library. And then the second criteria is that you have a library board of with a minimum of 5 members. Those are 2 things that are in the libraries in the state law. So if you have done both of those things, you're a legally established library in Nebraska. Now, to be clear, it is not required that you're legally established to have a public library in Nebraska. We do not have that kind of requirement. Anyone can start up a public library if they want to. We have volunteer-run libraries. We have libraries that don't have a board. We have libraries working out of someone's garage, and there is no law that says someone can't, you have to be legally established to have a public library. It's just if you want to become accredited, you do need to be legally established. And in our help guide here, we have links to, you can see these are the different Nebraska state laws, from the different stat sections in Chapter 51 and Chapter 16 that relate to that. You also must comply with all Nebraska library laws, rules, and regulations, and other local or federal laws. Again, in our help, we have links to Nebraska laws, U.S. Code, federal regulations, things like Open Meetings Act laws, we do Open Meetings Act. Your board is required to follow the Open Meetings Act because it is a public body. We do have a confidentiality of library records statute in Nebraska state law. You cannot just give out your patrons' user information. If you are receiving any federal funding for providing internet access, internet services, you need to be in compliance with SIPA, the Children's Internet Protection Act, and you have to be in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. That has its own website, ada.gov. So any of these laws, these are all the ones that we know. That you might have some local laws too that your community has set up. Again, you just need to be in compliance with those as well. You do have to have a board that either a governing board or an advisory board. You have a choice here in Nebraska. Our libraries, you can have a governing board that actually runs the library more, or an advisory board, which is just more advice. It just gives advice to the library. You have that. If you are population of, say, the first class, which is 5,000 or more, if I remember, you can have an advisory board. Anything below that is a governing board. So all of our libraries, the population below 5,000, you are by law have to have a governing board. Over has a choice between governing or advisory. Again, it was mentioned here, you have bylaws that run your board, and you follow that Nebraska Open Meetings Act. And we do have, for this one, a link to the actual open meetings law, the section. It's in Chapter 84 of state statutes. And our Attorney General has done a good job of having extra notes, a web page where it's just, let me explain what's in the law in like layman's terms in English, to explain why these particular sections are there and what they actually mean. The Open Meetings Act does change sometimes. They make tweaks to it, they update it, and we are doing an Encompass Live show next week about it. It just got added to the schedule last week. So I would highly recommend going and signing up for next week's Encompass Live on Wednesday, July 1st, 10 a.m. Central Time. And we will be doing an update to some changes. The legislature is always making changes every year, and there was some small updates related to the Open Meetings Act. So definitely sign up for that. If you can't make it, there will be a recording, of course. We also do provide libraries with posters. In order to, one of the first things to be in compliance is you have to have the Open Meetings Act posted in the room where your board is meeting. We have posters that we have sent out to all public libraries in the state that they get updated regularly too, whenever major changes happen. So we offer that to you as well. Now we're getting into the certifications. Both your library board and your library director must be certified. Certification programs are related to accreditation, as I said, but they are whole separate programs. You can do certification just because you want to and not have it be for the purpose of accreditation, and that's fine. But in order to be accredited, your board has to be certified and your director. Your board just has to have their certification. Your director has to be certified at a particular level. And you can see here there are different levels, and we're going to get into the specifics of certification in just a minute here. But depending on the population of your community, we require that your director be certified at a particular level. The smallest communities just need high school graduate degree. Then it goes up to 2 years of college, having college degree, undergraduate degree, a graduate degree. And then for any of our largest communities being of populations 25,000 or more, is level 5, which has you have your library director having an MLS, Masters in Library Science, MLIS, Masters in Library Information Science, whatever acronym they're using at the different universities. But for if you're in the largest communities, that's what we require. Now, this is only what we require if your library wants to be accredited. There are no requirements in Nebraska that library directors have a certain degree, level of education. We do not, there's no state laws, there's nothing coming down from the Library Commission requiring that in general. It's only if you want your library to be accredited, they need to meet these minimums. And only your director is required to be accredited, to be certified. If additional library staff are also certified, you can earn additional points on your accreditation. So let's look at the certification programs now, since we are at that part of our minimum qualifications. So I'm going to go back over to the main page here. And as we saw earlier, there's that pop-out menu with the information about the certification programs. So we do have some quick links here as well to the main certification page for boards and librarians. To the forms, you do have to let us know that you want to be in the program. We don't automatically know that just because you're a board, you want to be receiving continuing education towards certification. So your board does have to fill out a form. Additionally, any staff, your director, any staff that want to be in the certification program, you have to enroll and let us know. We have a board manual, which is a great resource for your board. I highly recommend taking a look at it. It has all the basics of what a library board needs to know to do their job. And we have a companion document, the director's guidebook. These are all online. Also the same kind of thing for any new directors or anyone just looking for information about how do I do this particular part of my director job. You can look up the library board's hours CE to see where they're at. You can look up your own CE record to see how many hours you have, how many you need. And there are separate forms for submitting board certification CE hours and submitting, librarian staff CE hours, 2 different forms. So if you're submitting hours as a library employee, staff member, director, you would use that form. If the board, you use the board's form. So we're going to look at each of these in more detail now. So board certification, the whole purpose of both of these certification programs is to keep you up to date on what's going on in the world. For library boards, making sure you know how to do your job, improving how you work as a board, your effectiveness, learning more about things you maybe didn't know about being a board member. For library boards, the board must earn 20 hours of continuing education during a 3-year certification period. So certification periods are still 3 years. And this is 20 hours as a whole, not 20 hours per person. So if you do have a board of up to, of those 5 members minimum, each person only has to do, if you split it up evenly, each person only has to do 4 hours of CE over a 3-year period. Should not be difficult at all. If all 5 of your board members sit together watching, for example, next week's Open Meetings Act Encompass live show, they each earn their hour for sitting through that. And that's 5 hours you've earned for all of them just sitting and watching that one webinar. So they each earn the hour, but it gets grouped together for the board's total. There are many ways. Oh, you can look up your board certification status here, and you can look up any library board status if you want to. This is all public. Similar to that accreditation list where all the libraries are listed, but you can see if a board is certified, when they expire, what regional system they're in. You can see if some of our boards have expired, some of these a long time ago, and some have just never been certified, and that's fine. As I said, this is all voluntary. In this case, if you click on the library board's name, you will see their CE record. So you can see what they have earned hours for, who has earned the hours, their initials, and then how many they have, how many they need when their recertification is due. So you can see here, Ainsworth, they've earned 13, they need 7, and they've got till September of next year, 2027, to do that. Should not be a problem. So they are cruising along, doing things. We do also list here, show who we have listed as your board, your current board members. If this is incorrect, let us know so we can make sure we have the right names. And we know board members come and go. If a board member earns something and earns CE for your board, and then they are no longer on the board, those CE hours still count. They earned it when they were on the board. So as you can see here, we have someone with the initials EV. I don't know who that is, but there's nobody who's currently on the board with those initials. That's okay. That person attended our Big Talk from Small Libraries in 2025, and those hours still count. You don't lose them just because they went off the board. So you can always keep an eye on what your board is doing and making sure that they are up to date and have their hours and aren't going to lose their certification. If your board loses their certification, you can lose the library's accreditation. It does take some time for CE to be recorded. We have human beings here that look at it and review it and enter it. So if you submit something and don't see it here right away, give us at least 10 days to get it through the system. If you don't see it by then yeah, reach out to us and we'll see if something got lost in the shuffle. As I said, there's a special form for boards to submit for their activity. You put in your library's name, who's submitting it, what they did, the date, and then all the names of people who attended that activity. So you do not need to do a separate form for each activity. As you can see here, you can list multiple things they've done, or a separate form for each person. You group it all together here. So you could say, we watched Encompass Live Open Meetings Act on so-and-so date, and these are the 5 people who attended. All in one form there. You do need to, as I said, let us know that you are wanting to have your board certified. So there is a form to apply. So just saying, yes, we are. And then we know when your board members attend anything that their CE should, any hours they earn for attending that event should go towards the board's certification. For things like this workshop we're doing today, anything we offer through the Library Commission online or in person, workshops, events, anything the regional library systems offer, we automatically issue your CE for those live events. We know you attended. I've got a attendee sheet from today. I automatically submit that. But we have to know that you have board members that attended, and we should give them the CE for doing that. So you have to let us know your board is wanting to be certified, and then if we don't do it for you, make sure you use that board report form. There are lots of things your boards can earn CE doing. Workshops, webinars, conferences, in-person, recorded, anything and everything really. The only main criteria, it has to be something to do with doing your job as a board member, generally speaking. So attending a workshop on how to do story time, no. But attending something on advocacy or how to do budgets, things are related to being a board member, generally speaking. It does have to be a minimum of 20 minutes long to earn at least a half hour of CE. Once you break that 45-minute boundary, you've got a full hour that you're earning. They said there's that special form. We do have special courses that we pay for your board members to attend to earn some of the CE and just to learn how to do their jobs. Trustee Academy courses, short takes for trustees. These are both through, excuse me, the United for Libraries. United for Libraries is the American Library Association's division for library boards, trustees, friends groups, and foundations. And the Library Commission, we pay annually for a statewide subscription, statewide access to all of their resources. So this is both for library board members and staff, and library staff to attend, to watch and attend anything that they have. Each individual has their own login, their own account. There's not a statewide account for everyone. So each of your board members can create one. You can have one just for the library that you kind of set up for all of them to use, however you want to do that. The Trustee Academy courses here, as you can see, basic competencies, working with the library director, everyday advocacy, equity, diversity, inclusion, etc. So basic courses about that. Short takes for trustees are shorter videos, about 8 to 10 minutes long. You must watch one and then have a discussion afterwards about that video in order to earn that the CE for it, because they are such short sessions. And so these are quicker things you can do. If you don't want to do one of these longer trustee courses or a full hour like Encompass Live, these are some quick things that you can do. You might do one of these at a board meeting. We're going to do just the first one, what it means to be a trustee. We're going to take 20 minutes of our meeting to watch that and discuss it, and then submit it for CE for the board. There are also some other videos that are out there that we have found from other states that have put out that you can watch and earn CE for as well. Pennsylvania and Wyoming each have a series of short videos that you can also watch. And then on Encompass Live, we do highlight a few things that may be really useful and relevant to library boards. Using WebJunction to learn more about library specific things, doing advocacy as for trustees, updates on United for Libraries. We're actually going to be doing, this is the 2025 one, we're actually doing an update for that also August 12th. There's going to be a new one of that coming up. So you can either watch the recorded one or sign up for the August 12th one. Information about certification. We did a session on Nebraska library laws. And as I said, Open Meetings Act. This is a link to the recorded one, but we just have the one coming up now next week. That will be the newest one. So these are not the only things in Encompass Live that you can earn CE for. We're just highlighting a few that we know definitely are good for library boards. United for Libraries, in addition to those trustees classes, they offer a lot of resources and webinars. They have a monthly webinar series. Now, some of those sessions are more for friends or foundations, but you could still watch them for the CE, but depending on if your library even has a friend or foundation, it might not be something useful. And there is also the United for Libraries virtual conference. This is an annual online conference that United for Libraries does, and the Library Commission, we pay for all state Nebraska library and board members to attend. So you do not have to pay. Do not pay, do not sign up, do not apply for any scholarships or anything for attending this. We've already prepaid for statewide registration. You just need to register using the information here, and you will be able to attend. It's a 3-day event at the end of the last week of July. As you can see, each day is focused on either boards, foundations, and friends, but all of that you can watch and earn CE for. After it's over, the recordings are then available in United for Libraries. And you can see here, going back to 2022, the recordings are in there if you want to watch any of the other ones. And then we just have links to lots of other things, just trying to give you as much information and as many things as you can to earn CE, for your board to earn CE. So, any questions about library board certification? type inside in your questions section there. All right. So that's our board certification. Let's go into librarian certification now. The program is very similar in its setup, but specifically for library staff. Now, for librarians, we are talking about continuing education, professional development, learning more above and beyond just the basics of doing your job. And this helps to improve your services that you offer. You're learning new things. You're learning what other libraries might be doing that you can borrow and copy, developing new skills, etc. It's also, both of these certification programs, also something to be proud and celebrate. For both your board and your library and your individual librarian certification, we also send you certificates that you can frame, hang up, share however you want to. Just like for the library board, you do have to enroll. So let us know that when you are attending things that we offer, we should be applying those hours of CE towards your certification. If you don't have us, you're not enrolled, we don't know that, and you may attend something and just you don't earn any CE because we didn't know. So you've got to do that first. That's a one-time thing. There is no fee for any of this. I should have said that at the very beginning. There's no cost for applying for being accredited or doing board certification or librarian certification that we charge you at all. Depending on things that you might attend, there might be costs, but we do not charge for participating in these programs. There are different levels of certification that are available for library staff. Now, as I said, your director has to be certified at the appropriate level. Additional staff can be certified at any level, at appropriate level as well, and you can earn additional points. And the levels are based on education, basically to level 1, high school diploma or GED. If you have that level of education, that's the level of certification that we give you. You can complete some hours of education and you get level 2. If you have degrees in library science, you can see you have level 2L. L for because you have a degree specifically in library science. Same thing, your bachelor's, graduate degree, and then all the way up to your master's in library science. This is graduate degree in any subject. And then a lower degree in library science gets you level 4L. Once you get your master's in library science specifically, you get 5. Now, in order to be certified, you can see here there's also basic skills courses that we offer. We know that not everybody is going to go to library school, is going to take library courses in college, in a university, or any sort. For some people, it's just a matter of time or cost, or it's just never going to happen. So we offer basic skills courses to help you learn the basic things you must know to be a librarian. And if you do not have or are not working towards any sort of degree in library science, in order to be certified, you have to take our basic skills courses. The basic skills requirement, I'll get that in new tab 2, is, and I said these are basic classes that are general topics that you need to know to be a library staff person. There are 6 required courses that you must take, and then 7, and then you can choose out of these 7 elective courses. And you can see there on topics: collection management, communication, customer service, intellectual freedom, basic cataloging, library governance, policy, reader's advisory, etc. So we've got all sorts of things that you can take. In order to be certified in your 3-year certification program, you need to, and if you do not have a library degree, you have to take all 6 of these and then choose 7 electives. Now, that sounds like a lot, but looking at the schedule of courses here, these courses, except for Intro to Cataloging, each are only a 2-week course. And that is meaning it is available for 2 weeks. They're all done online, and they're all done at your pace. You take however long it takes you during that 2-week period to complete the course. You can see here we have one outlier. It's but we're trying to go more in that direction. The communication course is available at any time of the year. You can take that anytime you want to, totally self-paced. As long as whatever it takes for you to get through that one, you can do that one. All the other ones are available at a certain time of the year, and they're always available at the same time every year. So it's always in this schedule and in this order. So you can, when you decide, okay, I want to be certified, I do not have a library degree, so I need to take all these courses. The required ones. You will sit down and say, okay, over the next 3 years, I have to get all of this done. And if you split it up evenly amongst the 3 years, you'll need to do 4 classes 1 year, 4 the next, and 5 the third. And you can decide in whatever order you want to. You can see in this schedule, and you can plan out ahead of time which ones I will take each year. Spread them out throughout the year, so you're not taking one after another, or take them one after another if you like to work that way. Whatever works for you. As I said, the courses, for example, customer service was available, ran from February 2nd to the 13th, but you do not have to take it for that full week, 2 weeks. There are assignments and readings and things that you have to do. You can complete all the work in the first 3 days and be done, and that's fine. You earn the credit for doing that. You earn the CE hours for doing it. You earn 2 CE, 2 hours for each of these classes, in addition to it meeting your basic skills requirement. So this 2-week course could take you only 3 days, and that's perfectly fine. So look at this, plan out if you do need to take basic skills classes, which ones you need to take and at which time. Introduction to cataloging is available, is the only different one. It is available for the whole month of April. Always month of April. So you have a whole month to finish that one. It's a little bit more involved. But the same thing, you could finish it in the first week and be done. It's not a month-long course where you have like classes that meet every week that you have to be there at a certain time. It's not like that at all. It's totally online at your own pace during that time that the class is available. So if you do not have a library degree, you have to do the basic skills courses. In order to be certified, library staff, I'll say, have to earn a total of 45 CE credits in a 3-year period. So it is a lot more, yes, than the board, of course, because you are the library staff. So we want you to have more ongoing education. But this is still, if you spread it out over time, still only 15 hours a year. So not too bad. And if you are taking the basic skills classes, they count towards those 45. So for every basic skills class, it's 2 CE that is included in your 45. Basic skills only has to be done your first year of being certified if you have to take them. After that, you never have to take them again. Every future 3-year period, you just have to do 45 hours of CE in any way you want to. So basic skills is a one-time thing. If you have a library degree, you just get your certificate, good for 3 years, and you have to do 45 hours of CE. If you don't have a library degree, you get a provisional certificate. You do the basic skills requirements. Whenever those are completed, we give you a permanent certification, and then you just have to do 45 hours every future 3-year period. If you're enrolled in a library science program, you haven't finished yet, same thing, you'll get a certificate that's considered provisional for what you're going to be, whatever your degree is going to be. When you're done, when you finish the degree, let us know. You don't have to wait till the end of 3 years. As soon as you've completed that degree program, let us know. We immediately bump you up to being officially at that level, and then your 3-year period continues. And you still need to do 45 hours to keep in that first year and to continue every year. See, basic skills courses are all on our training calendars. You can go there. We do have a question. Can you take these classes more than once? Oh, the basic skills classes? Oh, yeah, absolutely. The basic skills classes are for anyone can take them at any time. They are available to any, and I think it says here at the bottom here somewhere, any Nebraska residents or those who are employed in a library. So if you're thinking of being a librarian, so yeah, you can take any of these courses anytime you want. It doesn't have to be for the purposes of certification. It may be just, I need to learn more about library finance because I don't have a clue. And yes, you can retake them. You only earn the CE for the first time you take it, though. You can't re-earn CE for taking something a second time. You only earn that hours the first time you take it. But you are welcome to take it again. You're welcome to take extra classes. You only have to do 7 of these minimum to meet the requirements, but there are 10 electives. You can take them all if you want to. They're open and free to any Nebraska resident, anybody working in a Nebraska library or thinking about working in a Nebraska library. So basic skills kind of exist as its own thing, just out there for anyone, but it's also it feeds into getting the certification if you wanted to. So how do you earn your CE? We have a whole separate page for this for the librarian one. Very similar to the board. Webinars, workshops, seminars, conferences, same timing, 20 minutes, 45 minutes to get half, to get 1 hour. There is a special CE form for library staff, different from the board one. So if you're a library staff person, you will use this form. If you're board, use the board form. If you take academic courses for college credit, up to 20 of those CE for certification period can be used to as part of your CE hours you're submitting. Online courses can work. Something cool, if you are presenting or teaching, like if you are actually a presenter at the NLA conference, the Nebraska Library Association conference coming up, you can earn CE for presenting as well, and you earn double. So if you're presenting in a 1 hour session, you'll earn 2 hours of CE. If you come on my Encompass live show and do a session for me, you'll earn CE for doing that. If you publish something, if you do professional reading, we have, you can read books, articles, and submit little reviews to us. You can earn CE for that as well. The CE for board library staff is things that are above and beyond just your basic learning how to do your job. So for example, if you are new to your job and they're teaching you, having you take a course on how to use your online catalog, your ILS system, you can't earn CE from us for doing that. That's just learning to your job. You're supposed to be above and beyond, doing something more than just learning how to do my job, but attending a workshop, attending a webinar on some specific topic, like how to expand my summer reading program. Yes, that would be something that would earn CE. If you have questions or wondering, is it eligible, is it not? Email our CE coordinator. Linda Klaus is our CE coordinator, and she will be able to answer any questions you have about what does or doesn't count and work with you on that. There is a CE record review for library staff as well. This is specific to you and personal, so I can't log into this for someone's account. But there's a password that you can look up here for yourself that we've assigned to you, and you can always check and see where you are in your CE. So you can do this yourself anytime you want to, see how many hours you have and how many you need, and when your current certification period expires. All right, and then we just have some more how to get credit for teaching, publishing, et cetera, et cetera. Any questions? What questions do you have about librarian certification? Oh, we do have something came in here. Do certification hours roll over if you have extra before your due date? No, they do not. You earn the 45 hours or the 20 hours for board, whichever, that you earn are earned during that 3-year period, and they're good for that 3 years. You may do more than 45 hours or 20 hours in that 3 years, and that's great, but it only applies to that period. Once your next certification period starts, you start up at 0 again, and you have to earn the hours during that 3-year period. So no, they do not roll over into the next period, next certification period for you. Right. Any other questions about certification programs? Okay, someone said, what if your staff need more than 3 years? Okay, well, if you need more than 3 years, we do keep track of this, and we do reach out to libraries about, well, library staff about their certifications, and library boards about their, we'll contact the library director about a board's certification, to let you know it's coming up due, and you need this many hours, and you need to get them done. If you're unable to, let us know. Work with us, or we will work with you on a plan to try and keep you certified. We do give extensions. If you explain, we've had a lot of board turnover coming and going, or we have a whole brand new board and they don't know what they're doing, or whatever. We will give extensions on case-by-case basis. So you just have to explain to us why you are having struggle with it. Sometimes we'll do things like, okay, your board has done no CE. We want to make sure that they understand they need to do this at all. We'll give them 6 months to show us that you will do 6 of your CE hours. That's just a number I'm throwing out there. I don't know if we've actually done that. And as long as you do that, we'll keep you certified, and then you make sure you finish it all up. And we will, so we'll work with you to try and help if they're struggling and giving extensions. But we will come up with a specific plan. And we'll say, in order to show us that you are going to do this work, we're not just going to blindly give you another 3 years. No, depending on your circumstances, but generally no. But we will say, to show us that you are actually dedicated to this, we're going to say you must do this many hours in this much of time. If you do, fine, then we'll let you continue on. So just talk to us about it, explain what the problem is, why you're struggling, and we will work with you on that. Like I said, all of these programs are run here through the Library Commission by us, so we can give extensions and work with you as we need to, as you need. So just keep in touch with us if you're having trouble. But like I said, we will also proactively reach out to you when we know you're coming up to the end of your certification period and you still need hours, either you as an individual or your board. Okay. Right, and then someone else did have a question about, we do not currently have a director. Will that affect us completing the application even though we have a dedicated position available for the director? Well, that would depend. And I would leave that up to you. If you, like I said, I will proactive. If I know you've lost your director, if someone's left, you don't have a new one, like we do keep track of what's going on. Or if I know there's a, so we know you're in limbo, you can choose to just skip accreditation, say, we'll do it next year when we have a director. Or if you have someone on staff who's willing to take this on, they're welcome to do that. As long as you have someone in that position that does meet the, who's willing to do it. I recommend just saying, we don't have a director, we'd like to have an extension next year. That makes a lot more sense. Just don't worry about that don't worry about this while you're also trying to find a new director and keep the library running. So my recommendation would be, do not, and you will not lose your accreditation if you're in between directors. I did say you have to meet all of these criteria and maintain them every year. We know people come and go staff-wise. You'll have a break when you don't have a director. We know board members come and go. So you might at some point only have 4 board members, but you're looking for another one for your 5th. That's okay. We know that. But if you just don't have a director and you're in a director search, I highly recommend just reach out to me, say we'd like to skip it, because if you're up for reaccreditation, and we'll do it once you have a new director in place. You're welcome. All right, let's get through these qualifications and get into this application form. Any other questions about certification before I do that? Okay. So the next minimum qualification is that your library does receive local funding from whatever your municipality is, city, village, township, or county. So you cannot be just run by donations. You have to have some sort of actual funding coming from a municipality. We already mentioned and looked at, you have to do this public library survey and the supplemental survey. You have to have paid library staff during all scheduled hours the library is open. Now, we do know that some libraries do use volunteers on a temporary basis, and that's fine. If the director is off at a conference or in a meeting, or if you're short-staffed for one day due to illness and a volunteer comes in, that's fine. But they cannot be your main employees or your only employees. You have to have paid staff of some sort. The director has an email address, which they check regularly. That may sound odd, but it is something we've struggled with sometimes. And that is where we do email you about things like your certification or your board certification is coming up. Your accreditation, you're ready to do this. It's opening up next week. You are, per Nebraska state statute, required to make your basic services available at no charge to anyone in your tax district who provides your taxes. This is your basic circulating materials, reference materials, answering reference questions, all the basics. Now, some libraries do charge for materials for a craft program, and that's okay. That's not one of the basic services. You may charge out of non-residents to use the library, a non-resident card that they have to purchase, and that's okay too. Not if they do not supply your tax support, you can do that. You cannot charge for use of the internet, no per minute fees or anything having to do with using your computers to use the internet. And you have to make an annual report to whoever is your governing body, your municipality, every year. This is also in the state statutes. It is to be done by February of a year about what you did last year. So by February of every year, you should have made some sort of report to your village board, your city council about what the library did in the previous year. And once you've said, yes, I meet all those 12 criteria, you'll see this box pops up and says your library meets the minimum qualifications and you can choose to apply for accreditation. And this is apply for accreditation the first time or re-accrediting when you're up for renewal. And when you click that, it does then ask you to log in with your username and password. And like I said, this is the same password you use to submit the public library survey. If you need help to look it up, we do have a help option here for that. All right, is this one? There we go. Okay. Now I'm not gonna. I have over here, because I'm in-house. I am able to log into an application form. So I'm going to show you now what it looks like once you do type in your user ID and password and click login. Then you end up with this page, and you see it looks very similar to the preview application, but it is an actual live version. We're using Ashland. They're just at the top of the alphabet. You will see here there's a yellow box with some basic information about the accreditation application form. There's this little box here that is floating along. You'll see as I scroll down, showing you how many points you earn. And as you check things or uncheck things, you'll see those total points change. At the bottom of the page, I'm just going to pop way down there. You can save and resume later. So if you do not have to do this in one sitting. This is a long form, as you can see as I scroll down this long page. So if you get interrupted or realize I need to go look up some information before I check this box, you can click save. And when you come back, anything you've already checked will still be checked. You can pick up where you left off. When you're totally done and ready to submit, you click submit application, and then that would send it to me. As I said, the public library survey data that is pre-filled in here, if you have a green check, you meet the guideline, a red X, you don't. If you have questions about this, accreditation in general, you can reach out to me. Anything about your peer libraries, you can contact Sam. And those computer security questions that we added, Andrew Sherman, Sherm is our IT person. He's the one who pushed and created those questions for us. He can help you with any of those technical questions. There's a blue button here where you can see who your peer libraries are, so who you are being compared to for those peer comparisons. So you can see here Ashland is in the middle, and these are libraries that are smaller and larger than them. And you can see we did have to pull in a couple of Iowa libraries. All of this public library survey data is public, so we can look at other states' data, they can look at ours. If you want to know, you know what you submitted. If you want to see the actual full data that all of these libraries submitted for your peers, reach out to Sam and he can get that to you. So he can get you a spreadsheet that shows you what the actual specific answers were that all of these other libraries submitted. All right, and then just a reminder about what our levels are and that we have our questions item there. All right. So we're going to get into the application now. So governance and planning is the first section on the application form. And you can see the first item here is automatically checked because you click those 12 minimum qualifications. The second item is having an up-to-date community needs response plan submitted to the Library Commission, submitted to me. And now, to be clear, this needs to be submitted, not finally approved, in order for you to check the box. I do need your plan and your application form together to review them together and then decide if they both get approved or anything. If you're still working on your plan and you haven't submitted it to me yet, but you want to work through your application form, just go ahead and check that box. Because if you don't, and you try to check off anything further, you are going to get an error pop-up that says the community needs response plan is required. So if you have one and either you're still working on it or just haven't sent it to me, that's okay. Just check that box so that you can at least continue through this application form. And as I said, you may work on this form over multiple days, multiple time, and in between that, you may then submit the form to me, the plan to me, and that's all fine. So if you reviewed the plan annually, you can put down the date that you've done that, and you can see you can earn 5 points for doing that. You earn 10 points for having your plan, etc. Library board policies. These are policies that are for running your library. You do not have a policy that says it is the gift, memorials, and donations policy or the patron behavior policy. They can be just part of some other larger policy. But as long as you address all of these topics in your policies, you can check off the boxes. I'm just randomly clicking here. I don't know what exactly Ashland does, but any of these policies you have, you click the box and you can see you earn those points. If you have a policy on something that we have not listed here, we just tried to put the most common ones. You can add up to 3 other topics that maybe we do not list that you do have a policy on. Do you have a technology plan? Technology plan is different than a community needs response plan or a strategic plan. This is a plan specifically about the technology in your library, the computers, the networking equipment, and all of that. Those things need to be sustained, and you need to have a plan in place on how you will do that. Every 3 years, we will look at our computers and update and replace them every 5 years, however it is. Annually, we will make sure that all of our cables are working, all of our switches. So you need to have some sort of plan, a written plan about that to sustain all of your technology. Do you have a friends group or foundation? As you can see here, this is pre-filled from the supplemental survey, red X. They don't have a friends, but they do a foundation. Now, if something has changed from the time when you submitted your survey to when you're doing your accreditation, we can change these. So potentially back in February when you submitted your survey, you didn't have a friends group, but since then one has been created. Reach out to me, let me know. Behind the scenes, we can change that red X to a green check. So for any of these things that are automatically pre-filled in here, if your situation has changed, I want your accreditation to represent what is happening at your library at the time that you're applying for accreditation, not at the time 4 or 5 months ago when you did your survey. So just let me know and we can change those. Okay. Second section here is resources. And here we've got the first of our peer comparisons, local income. What is your budget? And here's yours income, the peer average, and the peer median. As long as you meet one of those two, meet or exceed one of those two, you earn the points. Facilities, open hours. How many hours are you open? This is something you submit in your public library survey. You can see here we've done that peer comparison. The schedule of open hours reflects an attempt to meet the needs. Have you at least asked them what they want? Doesn't mean you have to change the hours based on what they tell you, because sometimes that's just not possible, but at least you're asking. Yes. Do you meet all federal, state, and local codes for safety and access? I certainly hope so. But there is a help pop-up where we do have links to some useful websites. American with Disabilities Act, Federal Building Safety Guidelines, Nebraska State Building Codes, and Accessibility Guidelines, etc. Staff expenditures. So staff expenditure, this is salary and benefits. And then this is where your certification levels come in. If your director is certified at a particular level, we know that. And if they are, we get the green check. And if additional library staff are also certified at a particular level, they can also receive, depending on depending on the size of your community, you have to have a certain number of additional staff also certified to earn those extra 3 points. So for the largest communities of 10,000 or less, your director plus 4 additional staff must be certified, and then you can earn those extra points. How many FTE, full-time employees, do you have? And then do you have financial resources committed and expended by the library to provide opportunities for library staff to participate in education and training? Do you have a line item in your budget or some specific funding that is to pay for attending conferences or taking coursework? You would have reported this on your public library survey. Technology. Do you have an ILS and a library and integrated library system, online catalog, a catalog? Is it available online? Do you have broadband internet access at speeds adequate to meet user needs in the library? Now, you will notice that some of these questions on this application form are not anything that I can check on, and I'm trusting you to be honest when you answer these questions. That is everyone being able to download what they want to and use the internet, and it doesn't slow down all the time, and people aren't struggling to get to websites or do things, then yes, check that box. But if people are struggling, if people are complaining that it's taking forever to submit this online job application because the internet is so slow, then you should not check that. But I do not have any way of checking that. I'm trusting you to be honest when you do this. Do you have Wi-Fi? Also comes from your public library survey. Technology accommodations for persons with disabilities. So this would be things like screen readers, adjustable desks, and then an adequate number of computers as determined by you may have mentioned this in your community needs response plan or your tech plan. Again, I'm trusting you to say, yes, we do. We don't have anyone who's ever waiting in line to use a computer, great. But people are constantly waiting in line, complaining that there's no computers available to use, probably should not be checking that. And these are our new computer security questions that we added in 2022. You have no computers running end-of-life operating systems like Windows 7 or 8, which we did still have libraries using. And also Windows 10, it is no longer supported after October of last year. So you should be on Windows 11 on all of your computers. The operating system and software are updated monthly. That's usually a regular thing that can be automatically set up. Separate logins on your computers for staff and patrons. You do not want patrons having access to the admin part of your computers. Reboot restore software. Also use something you reported on our public library survey. Password secured access to the computer's BIOS to prevent anyone from hacking in your computers. And for a lot of these things, we have pop-up help that Sherm has written for us. If you need more help with this, reach out to him. I don't know a lot about these things. I depend on him as well. Do you use DNS filtering for web browsing? This is filters. So filtering the internet, for example, for SIPA compliance purposes. We do offer a filtering option called DNS filter. It's just one type of DNS filtering option that's out there we happen to offer. So you're not required to use ours to check this box. You just have to have something that is filtering. But if you need something, we are offering this for free to any public libraries in the state. Sherm will come and set it up for you and maintain it for you. So if you don't have a filter and you want one either for SIPA purposes or to earn points in your accreditation, we can set that up for you. Or if you do have one and you don't like it, sometimes this comes automatically as part of your internet from your internet service provider. But if you're not sure if it's working correctly or at all, we can get you set up. But this is free. We have funding that we provide this to all public libraries in the state. So if you need a filter, reach out to Sherm and he will get you all set up with that. And then, do you have a next generation firewall also to keep your internet connection secured? Again, Sherm can help you with determining what you have and what you need. He will come into, part of his job is to come and do tech reviews at our library. So reach out to him and he can help you with all of these things. Your collection. Does your collection reflect the mission and goals of the library? Hopefully. Some more things from your public library survey. How much are you weeding? Does your library staff use online websites to provide information? So this is just going out into the internet and typing in a search and seeing, is there some helpful information on the American Cancer Society site for this person who's researching cancer that their grandmother may have just been diagnosed with, things like that. And then these next four are also all peer comparison from your public library survey. Annual expenditure on materials, annual circulation, turnover rate, and collection size. Services that you offer. Do you have outreach programs? So this is things where you are going out to people who cannot come in to use the library. So delivering books to homebound people, providing a program at the local senior center, things like that. Do you use interlibrary loan? Either do it yourself or use the Library Commission's option for interlibrary loan for you. What is the attendance at your programs? Again, peer comparison comes from your public library survey. Do you have programs targeted at specific audiences? So do you have specific programming for teens or children or seniors or people looking for resume writing, new jobs, that kind of thing? This is a question that oftentimes I will read your community's response plan and find out you actually do offer a service, but you didn't check the box here. So this is where some of these you'll see things that are mentioned in your plan. I'm going to make sure you've checked off those items here and make sure you earn those points. Do you use the databases that we offer through the Library Commission? This is Nebraska Access. We receive funding from the state legislature to provide databases to all citizens of the state. And it is through Nebraska Access, and all public libraries, schools, and universities have passwords that you can give out to your patrons to use those databases. And then in addition to those, do you also purchase other databases that are not provided by us? So other things that you subscribe to that we are not part of our Nebraska Access. Cooperation and collaboration. This is working with other organizations, working with your village board. Does the library director or a member of the board attend at least 2 of your municipalities' meetings? It doesn't mean that you have to be on the agenda to present things. It just means that you are there. Keep yourself out in the community. Make sure they know that you exist, the library exists, and that you're there, paying attention to what's going on. Does your staff participate in community organizations and groups? So we have a little help guide here to explain what this would be. So things like Rotary, Kiwanis, service organizations, business groups like the Chamber of Commerce. So you have staff that are actually in those groups to keep, reminding them the library's here, or keeping an eye on what they're doing for potential future collaborations or partnerships. Do you have a teen board? Many libraries, it is, people bring their kids. Teens is sometimes where libraries lose their patrons. Parents bring in their little kids for story time or summer reading. Older adults start coming back to the library for things, but sometimes teens, it's a struggle. So many libraries have created a teen advisory board. So do you have one of those to find out, ask the teens themselves, what do you like? What do you want? What would you like the library to do? Do you cooperate with other local entities for shared services? This would be something like your story walks, when you put the books out in on the posts in like the park. So you worked with the Parks and Rec department, because the library doesn't have a big space to put these up, to put these along the paths in the park. That is cooperating with some other local entity. Do your library board members or staff participate in any advocacy programs? Nebraska Library Association has their annual advocacy day in the spring. American Library Association has advocacy programming. So anything like that you participate in, list the names of your people who do that, and you can earn points for each of them. Are there any resource, any group purchases that you participate in? Resource sharing. Here specifically, we offer Overdrive for ebooks, Nebraska Card for library cards to visit other libraries. The Pioneer Consortium is for a shared online catalog. Is there anything else that you are in sort of a group purchase with? And the last section is communications. How do you share what you're doing in your library? Do you post your mission statement and your policies on your library website? Now, this is where I can go and check, and I will. If you say you have these things on your library website, I'm going to go look for it. And if I don't see your policies, I'm going to reach out to you and ask, are they somewhere I can't find them? Are they on a different web page? Let me know, because if you do not, I will have to take away those points. Same thing for the next item. Do you allow for public interactions on your website? So if you have a blog and people can comment on it, or any sort of online social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anything else that's out there. I will go and look for these. If you say you have a Facebook page and Instagram account, I will go look at them and make sure that you are actually posting something at least monthly, because these are supposed to be ongoing, updating what the library is doing, announcing new programs, reminding people about something. I will check. And if you don't, then you'll not be able to keep those points. So the things I can check, I will. Do you do other sorts of marketing? Internet is great, social media is great, but not everybody is on there, and that's not going to reach everyone who you might want to provide services to. So do you do other things? Do you have a newsletter? You post in the local newspaper? Do you have a local radio station, etc.? Anything that's not social media. Do you have regular exhibits, displays, a new book display, a display for like some local historical event or something like that you are updating, or just it's spring, so here's all our books about spring. I don't know. Do you have a bulletin board that you let the public use specifically? So this isn't just where you're posting your own things, but you let the public come in and put up, garage sale, lost kitten, whatever. Do you report at least, usually monthly, it depends, to actually report to your village board? Now, previously we had an item that was, do you attend the meetings and just be there? But do you actually are on their agenda and reporting on what's happening in the library to whatever your municipality is? Now it says usually monthly. It just depends on when they put you on the schedule. It does not have to be on, every month. It's, they'll put you on whenever they want to. Do you post those reports on your website? I will go and look. If I don't see them, you don't get the points. And then, do you communicate with other business leaders and civic organizations? Do you send emails or newsletters out to the local businesses saying, hey, the library is doing this event, please come by, please support it? Or reach out to the Chamber of Commerce about wanting to do some sort of promotion to promote that the library has a story walk, those kind of things. So reaching out to not just doing your own promotion, but reaching out to other organizations for that. And that is the last guideline there. At the bottom here, it automatically fills in the director's info. If that's changed or different, you can always change all of that. You can see your points that we've got here. Like I said, I was just clicking things. I don't know if this library does all these things, but the point totals at the bottom, and there's that box that has been popping up as we go, and the numbers change as I click the boxes. Like I said, if you're not sure that you want to finally submit this, you can do save and pick it up later. But if you're ready to submit it, you click submit application. All right, we do have one question that came in. Any questions you have about the application, go ahead and type in here. We have our agendas and minutes are posted on our city's website. That is fine. Yes. And I probably should, that'd be something I could update, change here. I could say posted online. Because you don't always do, I do see that. Yes. And I will look beyond just your website for those things. I'm going to make a note to change that wording to make it a little clearer, because I do actually look elsewhere. So that is perfectly fine, as long as they're posted online somewhere. Okay, and here's a longer question. Okay, regarding the point system, what if your library is in the middle of accomplishing a task that earns points, but it's not completely finished? Do we get any points for something in progress? I would say maybe. If you're sure that you're going to have something done before accreditation wrapped up, like the end of this year, like you're working on getting a teen advisory board together, and you definitely know it's going to be ready and doing it in place before December, then yes, I would say go ahead and check it. But if it's something that's going to be happening like next year, or not going to be really in place this year, then no, I would say not to check that box. So I know things are in process, things are, you're always doing new things. So I will take that, I understand that and will accept it. It's okay. But I would say have that be your deadline. It has to be actually done and finished and an actually working program. The actual team board has met before the end of this year, then yes, I would accept that. What other questions do you have about the application form? Any questions you wanted more clarification on? Anything that you're wondering about? Anything I didn't mention that you hoped that I would mention? All right. Well, if you do think of anything, go ahead and type it into your questions section. I can pop back to them at any time. All right, we are now going to go into the last section of our workshop, which is the community needs response planning. As I said, in order to apply for accreditation or maintain your library's accreditation, that is one of the requirements. So it's a public library survey, supplemental survey, those 12 minimum qualifications, and the community needs response plan. We have a whole separate page all about that. Now, if you are reaccrediting your library, you should have a previous version of this plan somewhere, and you can just update that plan if you want to. You do not have to write a whole new document from scratch. If you don't know where your previous plan is, which happens a lot, that's fine. Let me know, reach out to me, and I should have a copy of it when you submitted it or your predecessor submitted it previously, and I can get you a copy of your previous plan. So look for it, and if you can't find it, reach out to me. Now, these plans used to be called a strategic plan, but we did change that name a few years ago because it was a little misleading and I think confusing or intimidating to some people. Strategic plan is the plan for everything your library does, and it's huge and it's much more intimidating. And that's not what we're looking for here. We're kind of looking for a subset of that, just a small part of what might be in a strategic plan. We are wanting you to look at your community, see what needs it is, what is happening in your community, what people like about it, what they don't like about it, what things that they might need the library to do, and then come up with a plan to respond to those needs. So hence community needs response plan. One of our regional library system directors, our recently retired regional library system director, Scott Childers, he had been calling it that when he would talk to libraries, and he mentioned it to me. And I said, that's perfect. I'm totally changing the name. It is longer than strategic plan, but it actually reflects exactly what we're looking for. Your library is serving your unique needs in your community, and we want to encourage you to keep looking at those needs. This plan is something that will be good for multiple years. So you will put, this plan covers the years, for example, 2026 through 2028. 2030 or 2027 through 2031, whatever time period you're working with. And it will be for things you will do over those years. So it will be a long-term type thing that you will use. There are 7 elements that are required to be in the plan. There's not a specific format that they need to be in, a specific order. A certain order makes sense, but there's no specific format. Just as long as these 7 things are in there somewhere, it is, I will accept that as a good plan. You don't have to just make this plan or revise it when you're due for reaccreditation. You can do it at any time that you want to if you need to. You could do it like the year before you're due for reaccreditation and then you already got it done. It just has to be written or revised within the past 5 years of when you are applying for accreditation. So we're going to get into some more details about all these, but just as a general overview, the 7 elements that are required. You need to have a mission statement. What does our library do? Why are we here? Why do we exist? This isn't something that changes regularly, so it's probably something you just carry over from plan to plan, but every now and then you might want to look at it and see if the wording you want to tweak. A community profile. This is what makes your community unique. This is demographics. This is looking at census data and trends. The actual numbers, the hard data. An assessment of your community's needs. Now, this is the community's needs, not the library's needs, which sometimes is hard to differentiate. We know as librarians what kind of services we're supposed to offer or that we want to offer, but we want you to just look out and see what's happening. Just look outside the doors, look outside the building, what's happening in the community. Now, this is not going to be something that you can necessarily do something about some of these needs. Like if they're saying we need a splash pad, the library's like, okay, that's not we have nothing to do with that. But at least you're finding out what's going on and reaching out. And then an analysis of the library. This is the one item of the Community Needs Response Plan that did change in 2022 when we did our most recent review. It used to be the SWOT. The dreaded SWOT, depending on your point of view. Some people love SWOTs, some people don't. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We had that separated out, strengths and weaknesses of the library, opportunities and threats from in the community. And it was a struggle and to keep those things separated. So I decided to make it more broader, maybe more vague, just an analysis of the library's strengths, the resources you have to offer, any barriers to offering those resources, and opportunities for improvement. So you will look at the library and then look out in the community and see what are things that we are struggling offering as a library, and what are things that we can use that can help us offer things out into the community. And then you're going to take these things, your profile, your community needs, your analysis of the library, and look at that all together and figure out what this means. Is there something we can do about all of this by looking at our community profile, our demographics, what's happening in the community, what the library has the ability to do? Can we come up with some specific goals to implement, some new program, some new project, some new service we're going to investigate offering? Using all of this specific data. So your goals that you come up with will refer back to all this data you gathered. And then a plan for evaluation. So this is evaluating your actual goals and evaluating the plan itself. So how often are we going to look at this plan? How are we going to decide if we reach the goal or not? Now, we have lots of resources to help you create a plan that has all of these. Like I said, you might have your previous one, and you just need to do some updating. But you might need to start one from scratch, or might want to start one from scratch. We have some webinars and online resources that are out there. When the census was most recent census was done, we did a webinar about that. A webinar about engaging with your community, making changes at your library. Web Junction is a great website with lots of training and resources and articles about all sorts of things for librarians, but they have an assessment, evaluation, and planning topic area with lots of items you can use. And then I know I said it's not a strategic plan, but I did do a couple of NCompass Live shows that were very good about the basics of some how you might do some of this planning. You know, a simple approach to strategic planning, and a guide. So don't think I'm asking for a strategic plan. Just these are some good webinars I thought we did that might give you some assistance. We also do have some examples of previous plans that are very good as far as after I evaluated them. You see some of these are pre-2022. That is because but they're still good plans. They just don't, this format change. We don't ask for a SWOT analysis anymore. It's okay if you want to do one still. It's not like you can't, but it's not required. So these, you will see that SWOT analysis. The newer ones, you will not. Like I said, there's no specific format or way these have to look. So if we look at Fremont's plan here, you see it has a cover sheet, has a table of contents. It's 9 pages long. They put together a huge committee. They're a larger community, of course. They had more people involved, what they did, etc. Other ones may look a little different. Let's see here. Geneva's is, they also have a table of contents, but theirs is much longer. Look at that. Theirs is 22 pages long. And then they just go right into text explaining, what is our plan, what we did, our mission statement, our community profile, our demographics, etc. Some of these don't have a cover. This one, or it has a cover sheet, also a table of contents, some appendices with their survey results. But sometimes you will not have any of that. I'm trying to find one. I know there's one that doesn't. There we go. Ponca. They just jumped right into it. Here's our plan. Here's our mission statement. No table of contents, no cover sheet, and that's perfectly fine. They do have an index. There's 16, 17 pages long. So as you can see, there's lots of different formats, but as long as all of these 7 items are in there somewhere, you're fine. So you could use any of these as a template if you wanted to for your plan. We also have some guides here, some worksheets, how-to guides about each section of the plan. Now, you do not have to use these if you don't want to. It's just one way to do it, one process to get there. Just to help you, you can use part of these if you want to. Like maybe you know everything else you're going to do, but you struggle with using census data and you just want to look at that. That's fine. But these are just some worksheets you can use. It's not required, but we hopefully want them to, hopefully they're helpful to you. We got this one starting off guide here, community needs response planning process in 12 steps. If you use our worksheets and go through all of these steps, following and doing these things one at a time, you will come out with a plan. You'll get everything done. You'll get through all the parts of it, and you'll come out with a plan that you can then submit to me that should be good to go. It will have everything you need. So first thing you want to do is establish a team, set a schedule, and this is worksheet 1 will help you do that, and the how-to guide on the planning team. Communities. Then you're going to want to look at the community profile and then gather information for the community, doing focus groups, et cetera, et cetera. So this can kind of be your guide to here's all the things we need to do to come up with our plan. And if you go through these steps 1 through 12, you'll work through all of these worksheets and you will, in the end, have a summary and a plan that you can submit. Okay. So first worksheets here, we're going to look at some of these things. I'm not going to look at all of them. I'm just going to show you some of the things we do have that could be helpful to you. So planning to plan. All of these should pop open as either Word documents or PDFs, something that you can then use, print out, download, do what you want with. So this plan to plan here is what are the basic things we need to do? What are the steps that need to happen to create a plan? Who is going to be in charge of each of those things, and target dates. Now, all of this, of course, this can all be, not in stone dates because it's going to vary. Things are going to get, pushed back or whatever. But this is kind of a nice sheet you can use to say, here's the big picture, the main basic things we need to do, who's going to do each thing, when we hope to have everything done by. Your planning team is going to vary from community to community. As you saw, the one from Keene and Fremont had a lot of people on the team, but depending on the size of your community, you may have a smaller one. You don't want too many people, but you don't want too few. And I can't tell you what's the right amount. Size here, just say generally 5 to 12, but of course that's going to depend on the size of your community and who you can get to work on this. I will say, as is, if you are the library director, do not go at this alone. Do not go it alone. This is a lot to do. It's a lot to work on and put together, and you need input from your staff, from library boards, possibly from someone from the community, a community stakeholder, one of your super users, possibly, or someone who doesn't use the library. Say, hey, you don't use the library. We want to know why. Let's get you on the team to help make the library be more people wanting to come into the library who aren't coming into the library. If you do have library staff, I would not say every single staff member. Pick one person or a couple who really might be into this, or who you think might have good input and be wanting to work on this. Library board members, you would not have the entire board. You would pick one board member to participate in this. There are Open Meetings Act. Part of the Open Meetings Act is that if you have more than the quorum of board members together, that constitutes a board meeting, and it has to be open, and that's a whole thing you get into. So you got to be careful about how many board members you get together to do anything. But pick one to be representative. You are going to have someone who can facilitate this group, make sure they stay on task. Understand that this is going to be a lot of consensus building. Not everyone's issue is going to be addressed. Not everyone's project they want to do is going to be part of this. And so someone generally is going to be the library director, unless you know someone else who you can delegate and say, you're good at this kind of thing. You're good at making people work well together. So you're going to want someone who can help guide them through that. I do have a helps guide here about that mission statement. Now, as I said, this is something you may have already, but it's what do we do? Why do we do it? Who do we do it for, etc. Kind of like your vision statement. And some examples here. New York Public Library, it's just got one mission, one sentence. It's pretty short, sweet, to the point. But it can be more in-depth. You may want to expand it, talking about technology or something, possibly. So just some examples here to help you either create a mission statement, vision statement for your library, or maybe update yours. So community profile, this is the demographics. This is when we're getting into census data. Now this first worksheet here is going to be scary and overwhelming, but it's okay. This is all of the possible things that you could look up in census data, all the data that they offer. And it's through the census we do every 10 years. The American Community Survey is done regularly, annually, so we keep the numbers up to date. So this is all the kind of things. And this is a blank sheet that you can fill in with your library, your community's info, if you want to. So it's just a good way to keep track of things. You do not have to look up every single one of these things. If you don't want to break up your population into these really small divisions, you don't have to. Do it whatever you think works best for you or how much you want to. Some of the items on here are not, of course, from census data. Describe the library, media facilities, and the schools. Of course, that's just going to be a free text thing that you'll just have to type in there. But this just will at least guide you through the kind of things you can get from the census and the kind of things you want to be looking at when you are looking at what the needs are in your community. What kind of language do people in my community speak? How are there parents in the labor force? Are they not? In economics, household income, what is going on in the community as far as manufacturing and retail, et cetera, et cetera. Now, to get this data, we also have a statewide version of this. So this is a blank one for you to use. Over here, Sam Shaw again, he is our data dude. He has put together, he updates this annually for me, the numbers for the state of Nebraska as a whole. So this is the same sheet as that blank one, but with Nebraska. So if you want to compare yourself to the state as a whole, you can see how your community is. So children under 5 years, 5.9% of the population of the whole state is under 5. How does that compare in your community? And then so all of the census data. Now, of course, the things that are free text specific to your community is not in here, of course, but just for the numbers that he can pull from the census, he has put together this worksheet. So if you want to compare your library's numbers to statewide, you can. The American Community Survey is a good resource for up-to-date information through the U.S. Census Bureau, has comparison profiles, data profiles, tables. They've put so much information out here. You can look through all of those. The main census data page is where I like to go, where you can just find from the most recent census and any other data collection they've done since then, the numbers. There are tables. You can create maps. Now, I'm not requiring you to put tables and maps in your community needs response plan to me, unless you want to. But for your own fun, if you're really into stats and numbers, this is the place for you. So you can look at all these kind of things. Now, for your community, we're just going to type in, and because we were looking at their application form before, I'm just going to put in Ashland. And now you'll see there's lots of Ashlands in the country. So I do, and depending on your community, you may or may not need to do this. So Ashland, Nebraska. And if we click on that, it will bring up the information for Ashland City. And here they have various data that you can look at these specific tables, race, demographic and housing, age and sex, native populations, et cetera, et cetera. You look at a table, a map, chart format. So whichever way you like to look at these numbers and make them pretty for yourself, you can do that. I like to look, there's related searches over here. So if you want to say, I want to look specifically at Ashland and everything housing related, you can click on that and it'll give you all the housing, income and poverty, race and ethnicity, etc. So any of these, they've got some suggested searches that you can use to get that specific info. I like to look at this profile myself because I find it has a really good overview of the community. So if you view profile, you will see it then just shows you total population, income and poverty, housing, race and ethnicity. So it really gives you a nice snapshot of the community. And when this loads up, there we go. And then some graphs, language spoken at home, native and foreign born, your older population, et cetera, et cetera. So I find this profile probably be the most useful because of how it breaks everything out nicely for you. And this is the kind of numbers that I need in your plan. Now, I will double check these numbers. And you can see here, some of the numbers come from the 2020 census, and that's okay because that is the most recent census, even though it's, a while ago. But you can see that they do more recent in the American Community Survey. This has been updated in 2024, so it is more recent. I will check your plan. If you had a previous plan, I am going to compare these numbers to your previous one to make sure that you did look up new numbers. This is one area, and I'm mentioning this because this is one area that many libraries do make that mistake, and they don't update the numbers. They have the population from the previous census, and it still says in the 2010 census, the population was whatever. So I will make sure that you do this. So at a minimum, make sure you change your census data, look up these numbers, and update that on your plan. Now, if your library, you know that your library serves more than just your community, you're going to want to look up neighboring communities as well. So possibly if there's a town up the road that they do not have a library and their citizens come to your library, look up their numbers, look up that city. If you're perhaps the county, you're the only library in the county, then you're going to want to look up the county data. Because everyone from the county comes to us. I can't just look at what's happening in my little city because all these other people are actual users or potential users do this, go and look up your county, and then you can do the same thing. You've got all the data, and there's a profile for the county with all of the same numbers, but for the county. So think about who your users are when you're looking up these numbers, or who you might want your users to be. Maybe you don't know, you don't know that people are not coming in from the town next door, even though you know they could. Look up their numbers and see why. See if there's some service you could be offering that would help them and entice them to come in and use your library. So these numbers here are good to verify what is happening in your community. You may hear anecdotal information from people saying, there's no young people in our community. Everyone is just old, and it's nothing is new and here. And that's fine for people to say, but use this to find the real numbers, to find out actually there is, according to the census data or the 2024 American Community Survey, we have a huge increase in young families and young children. What's that all about? You might not see them out there, but the data cannot be argued with. And that kind of data is what can inform what you may do as offering a new service or providing some new program. Any questions about census data? There's a lot in there. Don't get lost in it. Or if you enjoy that, do get lost in it. All right. If you do have any questions about your plan or community needs response planning as we're going through this, go ahead and type it into your question section. I want to make sure I answer all of your questions and anything that you might want to know more about or that you're struggling with on here. All right, so that's the community profile. Now we need to look at our community's needs. What is happening in our community? There are lots of ways that we can gather this information, and you do not have to do all of these things. Please don't. It would be a lot, probably. The goal is what's important, not the method. The goal is to find out what is happening in the community. What are people liking? What are they not liking? What are they struggling with? What do they think should be fixed or shouldn't be fixed? If this has already been done, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't do it again. So many communities or counties have done their own community survey recently. Anything that's been done within the last 5 to 7 years, I would say just go and get that report and use it. Don't do a new focus group or a new survey if someone, your municipality or your chamber of commerce has already done some sort of gathering of this information. Just get a hold of that report and use it. And that is perfectly valid. Say that in your plan. Say, our city did this survey 3 years ago, and here's what we found, what they found out. And that's fine. You only need to do this if there is nothing out there already that exists. So go look for something first, I would say, so you do not have to do all this extra work, and see if you can find it. And if you can't, then you may need, you'll want to do one or many of these things yourself. Now, for all of these gathering of information, you are trying to get them to talk about the community, not the library. And that may be difficult for some of them. They're going to see you as the library coming to them and asking questions and asking for input. And they're going to assume instinctually, oh, they want to know what I think of the library. They want to know what I think the library should be doing. And you're going to have to try and guide them away from doing that. Maybe let them get it out of their system with a couple of library questions, but then guide them towards what you're really looking for is what they think about the community as a whole. And we have sample community questions here that can help you do that, the kind of questions we're thinking about. How satisfied are you with living in our community? What do you like most? What do you like least? Do you believe quality of life is improved? What's the most critical issue facing the community today, etc. So this is the kind of thing you're trying to get them to be talking about. Like I said, they're going to want to start talking at you about the library, and that's fine. But then have this sheet out, have the sheet for you, and guide them towards asking it. asking these kind of questions. So there's various ways you can do this. Community meetings that you can host, focus groups. You can have an open group or say, hey, we're just going to have an open meeting on Tuesday evening. Anyone who wants to come and brainstorm about the community. You can specifically invite particular people. Always good to provide people with food. We're going to have coffee and cookies. You do need to have someone who is a good facilitator. You want to prevent someone from monopolizing the conversation. You want to be able to draw out people who maybe are more shy. So if you have one of these kind of meetings, you could do that. And you would use those questions and ask them at that meeting. You could do what we call key informant interviews. This is specifically meeting with a person or a small select group of people, the superintendent of the school, a parent who's a big user of the library, a parent who's not a user of the library. Like I said, those non-users, you can get really good information from. Why do you not use the library? What do you think is going on? Or why are you, what do you think about what's going on in the community? Head of your religious group. You get to pick who will be in this group, have it be a more small, private kind of thing. It does not have to be open. It can be, we're going to bring all these things, these 3 or 4 people together and have a meeting of just them talking about answering all these questions. And you're going to want to focus on them as well. What does your group need? What does the school need from the community? What do you think is going on? The K through 12 school, what are you struggling with? What do you need? You can be much more direct when you have one of these kind of smaller groups. You can do a survey, just a general public survey, put it online using some sort of survey program, put it in paper, let people take it however you want to do it. Lots of libraries, lots of places I've heard of put them in your local utility bill, have a little flyer in there. It says, go to this website to answer our survey. The Chamber of Commerce to help promote it, the school school or church newsletters, any of those. So you can put a survey out there that you can then gather information from. Sometimes that people feel more comfortable doing something more anonymous like that, rather than being in a group of other people when you do your key informant or focus group type meetings. And then just your own observations. You're a citizen as well. You have opinions and know what's going on. Walk around and see what's happening. Are there lots of kids running wild in the street? Maybe that's something that needs to be addressed. Are there lots of dogs running wild? Maybe we need a dog park, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't have to do all of these. These are just examples of some things you could do. We do have an example here of some of those key informant interviews. So these are some more kind of, and this is an example of one done with a business person, someone from their economic development corporation. What are the problems facing our community? What's happened that makes you believe? Who does it affect? So you see, you're also different questions from that general other suggested questions that I gave you, but more of a one-on-one kind of conversation that you have with them. PLA, the Public Library Association, did this project outcome program for a few years, and outcome measurement, and they have them specifically for academic or public libraries. And so I've linked here to resources that they have available that can help you to evaluate, do these kind of things as well. So lots of just help things here for you to figure out what is going on. Once you have done this, you're going to want to put together some sort of a list, assessing, what's the most commonly mentioned thing, what's least mentioned, to see what is the thing that most people are talking about. So kind of put them in priority order. And our next section is taking stock of your library. This is that SWOT analysis that we removed. Well, we changed it, sorry. It still is very similar to that, talking about strengths and weaknesses and things, but it is not a SWOT analysis. I'm hoping it's more broad. Taking what you know and trying to fit it into one of these boxes about the library and about the community. This could be a good brainstorming activity with your staff, uh, either all together or anonymously. If you want to give them the sheet and say, here, fill this out, and it's all anonymous. But you're just going to want to like say, what's great about what we do? How good, what's our strengths in human resources? Are our volunteers awesome? Do they do great things? Do we have a great place to find volunteers? Do we need to find volunteers? Or is there some reason why we aren't getting them? Facilities, the building size, ADA compliance, location, parking. Some things you have no control over. Parking stinks. Yeah. And that could be an issue. A barrier is there's nowhere to add new parking. Well, that's just something we know. Opportunity for improvement. I don't know, better parking somehow. Talk to the city. Is there somewhere you can think of that a new parking garage could be built, or a parking lot? You know, how's your technology? Are your computers good? Do you want to work on a makerspace? Do you not have a makerspace? That's an area that you'd like to improve. Makerspace. We want to start one up. How do we do that? How is your funding? Do you have good funding from your municipality? Is an opportunity grants? Do you need to be applying for more grants? That's an opportunity for improvement. Is there a reason why you can't apply for grants, or you're not receiving gifts from the community, getting donations, et cetera, et cetera? So you see all of these have to do with the library. And then we look out into the community for all these things as well. How is the economy? Is there other technology in the community? Is there internet service available somewhere else? Is there training like at the local community college for people to learn how to use their computer? Things like that. Has there in the economy, has there been a new employer come into town? Then that's maybe an opportunity for offering resume writing services because people are going to be applying. Has a business left? Did the factory or something close down? And now you're going to need to help people apply for unemployment, or also write their resume, update their resumes for applying for new jobs. So just brainstorming all of those kind of things that are going on in your community, in your library, in your community. The strengths of the library, what resources do you have that are great that can help in any of these areas? The barriers that you face to offer to providing good things. And it's something you need. It's something that we talk about a lot, that it's hard for us to promote ourselves or say we're doing good things, but pat yourself in the back. Say, think about that. Yes, our lot volunteers are great. It's awesome. But also be honest with yourself. We're terrible at applying for grants. Why is that? Let's do something about that. Just, be honest. Like I said, it's a brainstorming session. Depending on your staff, it may be something they could all do together nicely, or it might be something that needs to be done anonymously. Your situation may vary. All right. And then once you have all this information, you've got your community profile and your demographics, you've found out what your community thinks they need or want, and you know what your library has to offer, then you take all that info and come up with some goals and objectives. This is a worksheet that you can use, and it's very vague, of course. This is not going to be your every single step we do type thing. It's here's a goal, here's something we want to do. We found out that if this issue exists and there's something we can do about it. So for example, you found out from the census data that there are actually lots of new families, lots of little kids, and in your city and the one next door, like 3 new daycares have just opened. Wow. What can we do to work with them? They're not coming to us, so let's go to them. Let's bring story time to the daycare. That will be our new goal. That will be a new program we're going to offer. Is we take story time and we actually take our books, go over to the daycare and do it there. And that is based on the numbers you found out, and that you know that there are people in the community that might need this. They're not coming to you for some reason. It can be hard, I'm sure, to wrangle all those children and take them across town or something to the library for whenever you offer story time. So reach out to them, contact them. This is our goal. We're going to start a new daycare program. Now, these community needs and these goals, I'm asking for 3. So as I said, This is not your entire strategic plan. This is not a plan of everything the library offers. This is, we've done this work, we've found out this information, and we are going to come up with a few new ideas. Now, the new ideas could be creating a new program, like I said, of taking story time to the daycares. It could be just investigating. We're going to investigate maker spaces and maybe visit some other libraries and see what theirs are. That could be your goal. You could be expanding on a previous goal or continuing a previous one if you want to. As I said, we did change accreditation to be over 5 years rather than 3, because some people, when they're doing these goals, they're like, well, we're still working on that one. 3 years wasn't long enough to get this project up and going. And that's fine. You can say one of your goals is to continue that one that we started because it's working well, but it needs some tweaking, and we're going to try and do that. And that's fine. But I do want you to come with something new each time. It's been 5 years, and like I said, in some cases, 6 or 7 since you've done this. Something new you're going to do. Also, to be aware of, this is talking about over the next 5 years, between now and the next time you're accredited. So you do not have to do all of these things right now or next year. You can say, in 2028, we are going to create a new going to the daycares with story time. So it's for that year of this 5 years. It's not all, we've got to do all of this next year. No, don't do that. So it's anytime over the next few years, the next 5 years. Now, to create these goals, there is this acronym, writing SMART goals, which you may have heard of. Now, this is a document that comes from a university, so it mentions university things, but it can be applied to any organization who needs to come up with goals and decide what they're going to do. The acronym for SMART, excuse me, is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time framed. So in order for you to be successful in your goal, it should have all of these things. Otherwise, you may be flailing around and not sure what you're doing. So specific means there's a specific thing you're going to do. What needs to be done? In this example, we want the daycares need story time. We want what needs to be done is bringing our story time to the daycare. It needs to be measurable. You need to be able to track data. How many kids, how many children were there? How many times a week did we go? Were they attentive, et cetera, et cetera. It has to be attainable. Don't say there's 3 daycares in town. We're going to take story time to all of them every day. That would probably make your children's librarian or children's staff go running for the hills. So make sure it's something you can actually do. Think of it as a pilot program, something you've never done before. We're going to start with one of the daycares, and we're going to go there twice a week. And that will be something that's attainable. Our staff can probably handle that mentally and be able to create a program for that. It has to be relevant, which if you've gathered all of that data and your demographic data, your community needs, what the library can do, that should kind of just fall into place. It's relevant to what your library's goals are and what you do. And time framed. This is one where many libraries kind of forget or don't put down any timing. You need to have, I need you to say, when are you going to do this? Now, these are target dates. Of course, things may change. It's not in stone, but you need to say, we are going to, in 2028, spend 6 months developing this program and piloting it with these, libraries. So we need target dates, we need frequencies, we need deadlines. You need to have a time frame of when you're going to do this. You can't just say, we're going to start up this program and we're going to bring, story time to the daycare. Okay. And how are you going to measure that? When are you going to do this? I need to know when this will happen. Now, things will change possibly. And if you say we're going to do it in 2028 and something comes up and you can't, it's okay that it doesn't get done till later. It's okay if the next time you come up for accreditation, your evaluation is we actually didn't do this and it for whatever reason, and that's okay too. This is not like a grant program where you are given money and you have to do the thing. And if you don't, oh no, you'll get in trouble or have to refund the money or something. These are just some ideas, and if there's some reason that you can't do it, your children's librarian left and nobody was there to do it, or there was a tornado and there's other things to deal with, things happen, and that's okay. The next time you come around, the answer could be, the evaluation could be, yeah, it didn't happen and here's why, so we're going to try again, and that's okay. We're going to try again in another 2 years. It's all variable, and that's all right. So that does lead into the evaluation. You are going to want to evaluate both the goals you set for yourself and the plan as a whole. Most libraries do, and I'm jumping down here to the last item here, how often will you evaluate your plan? Most libraries do have on their library board agenda, once a year, we want to review this community's response plan. Are we still doing things? Is there something we should be doing new this year? What's up? So for example, you might say every January meeting, this will be on the agenda, and make sure that the board is keeping up on the fact that you're keeping up on what you put in this plan. This plan should be is not something that you write today, write this year, put it on a shelf, and don't look at it again for 5 years. It's not a plan you look at every day either. It's not your guide to everything I do daily, but it is something that you're going to have these goals, these new programs you might be doing. It's got great information in there. You looked up all that demographic info. You did that community needs survey. It's going to be something you're going to want to regularly refer to. And when you've got certain things that you have said, we will in 2028 create this program, you want to make sure you do that. So this evaluation is just going to explain what you will do. We are going to evaluate the program after it's done every year. We are going to review the plan to make sure who will be evaluating these things. The same people that created the plan could be on that team, or it's a good idea to possibly bring in people who were not, so they can look at it from an outside eye. Get someone who was not right there in the trenches when you created this whole thing to look at it and say, why did you do that thing? Having someone else, a new set of eyes, is always a good thing. And if you do all of these worksheets, if you use this as your process, and when you go to this summary, you will have all the different sections, the 7 that are required, and you should be able to fill in from here all of these sections based on all those worksheets you filled out, everything that is required for the plan. And then when you submit it to me, I won't have to come back to you and say some section is missing. The dates of the plan, that is definitely something that some libraries do forget. You need to, and you'll see that on those examples, you need to indicate what years this covers. If you're doing a new one right now, generally it'll probably cover that 2027 through 2031, the next 5 years. And that will give you your plan. So if you use all of these, you will have a plan. Now, like I said, this is just an example. This is one way to do it. You can just use parts of this. If you want to use this community needs, running a focus group information, just use that from here, that's fine. However you end up with your plan is up to you. But these hopefully will help guide you through that. Easiest thing for libraries reaccrediting is get a hold of your previous plan and just update the parts that need updating. A mission statement probably doesn't need. Community profile, demographics absolutely needs updating. Assessment community needs, it might depend. If you notice that things really haven't changed, the community is pretty stagnant, and that's fine. That can be in your plan. It says things have not changed since the last time we did this. These are still the same problems and nothing has been fixed, and that's okay. Now, this plan, as I said, is a separate document that you will either email or mail to me. Scanning an email is probably easiest. Once I have this plan, I will review it with your application form. All right, so that is our community's response planning. What questions do you have about planning, about doing this community's response plan that I have not answered yet? Is there anything you were hoping I mentioned, or anything you're confused about writing one of these plans? Let me know. I want to answer any questions you have right now. Someone does ask, how long ago could a city have done their survey to count? So if there's already been some sort of a community needs survey done, like I said, 5 years is best. Nothing, maybe 6 or 7. I mean, we're looking at census data that's from 2020. So, but older than 10 years is probably not very useful. Things would have changed getting to the 10 years. So I would say somewhere between 5 and 7 at the most. Anything older than that, it's probably not very accurate anymore. And you're either going to want to maybe mention the city, they might want to do a new one, or just use the resources I put here and do your own. Put out a survey and do your own. If you look at some of these examples, I think one of these did have their surveys that they did, so you could borrow from another library what kind of questions they asked on theirs as well if you want. If you do need to do your own, yeah. All right. What other questions do you have about communities' responsibility? Or about accreditation in general? We have about 10 to 15 minutes left officially in our time here for the workshop. So what questions do you have about accreditation? Anything I haven't mentioned yet? Anything you're wanting to know more about? Anything that you're a little confused or unsure about? I want to make sure I answer any other questions that you haven't already brought up before we wrap things up for today. Type into that question section of your GoToWebinar interface. I can't see you typing, so I have to wait until it pops up to see if there's anything. No. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, that's fine. I can, okay, something did just pop up, of course. Can you use training of staff as a goal? Sure. I would say that could be something. It had to be something specific, like we are going to send our staff to makerspace training or something. But if that's something you have not been doing regularly or that you think they need a little bit more about, some libraries I know don't require but encourage their staff to do that certification of those basic skills. You could say, hey, let's get more of you taking some of these basic skills classes to enhance your knowledge and ability and to do your job. Sure, I would accept that as a goal. I would say it would have to be related to something going on in your community, though, because we are talking about community needs response. So was there something that the community needed that training your staff is required to meet that need? Did I say that right? Yes. So they are mentioning, hey, so-and-so community up the street, they've got makerspace equipment. They've got a laser cutter, a 3D printer. We want one too. And in order for you to do that, you have to train your staff on how to use a 3D printer or how to even create a makerspace. That would be acceptable. So the training has to be related to some need in the community that you discovered. Yeah, training on a printer or computer to help the patron needs. Yes, additional training beyond just what they do as a regular, here's where the printer is and how it works. Yep. All right, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Anything else you wanted to ask me about accreditation while you have me here? You can always reach out to me at any time, of course. All right, I think we will wrap things up and I'll give you some of your time back. As we said here, the process starts next Wednesday, July 1st. Any libraries up for reaccreditation, the library director will get an email from me inviting you to get your reaccreditation going. Any libraries who have submitted the public library survey and are not accredited yet will get an email from me inviting you to apply. And that all starts next Wednesday. So look for those emails. And if you are not due until a future year, start looking at your public community's response plan. Just prepare, and you can work on that at any time. So I hope this was helpful to everyone. I'm really, we will get all of our libraries due this year reaccredited, and maybe some new libraries joining the program. That would be awesome. All right, so thank you everybody for being here with me today, and good luck with your accreditation. Bye-bye.